Lasseter of Pixar fame now runs Skydance, and because it's out of under John's you know uh, um, purview. I'm trying to use big words, you understand, because I know you people read a lot. But it's he's a very family orientated guy, and so you can feel safe bringing your children to see this. And there's unfortunately there's not a lot of animation you can say that about, but this one you surely can.
Yeah. And John, in terms of voiceover work, I know you probably have done a good bit in terms of voiceover and acting work. How do you find the challenges of voiceover work? Is it kind of similar gig, or is it very much a define art as well to do voiceover? Is it a very different sort of style of acting?
That's one of the greatest myths in Hollywood. We actors tend to get on interviews like this and make it sound like it's horrendous and difficult, but it isn't. It's not like real work where you have to get up early in the morning. Well, you do have to get up early in the morning, but you're not using a pick or a shovel or climbing ladders and sweating. It's you go to the studio at the appointed time and stand in front of the microphone and read your lines. And that's pretty much it. I don't want to make it sound too easy, or I'm very fortunate in being able to do that on all the last 26 years with Pixar and now with John Lasseter and Skydance. But it's not like loading cement bags on railroad cars.
Mm. And John, do you, as a when you sign up to these projects in terms of voiceover work, do you like to see some of the animation showed back to you? Do you like to see a bit of the final product in terms of seeing what your character will look like in terms of the voice? Is that very important for you, the credibility of the project?
Well, not so much the credibility, but because I know if John Lasseter's involved, I don't think about it at all. But it's to see a picture of the character helps me in forming the voice. Like when, let's say, Ratatouille, for instance, I played a French waiter, and the picture he was very jowly. So I put that in. He likes this soup. And so you add that in with the physicality of the character. That's my approach to it anyway.
Mm. And in terms of voiceover, these animation movies, and we see now it's becoming there's an evolution into the video gaming world as well, in terms of video games now are becoming miniature movies with all these cut scenes as well. Do you think it's a market that is exploding, dare I say, in terms of Hollywood, in terms of big business now? Is it just very much similar to big theatrical productions?
You know, I can say I've probably played two video games in my life, so that I'm not all that familiar with that world. But on my end, if I get a phone call, it's okay. I'll show up depending on who's doing it and what the content is like, because I have children and grandchildren, so I don't want them associating me with anything that they shouldn't be at their age. But I don't, I take a very simple view of it, especially with, the business and how it's run. If I don't have complete control of it, it's in God's hands. I just leave it up to the Lord, and I show up, do my work, and go home. But I wish I could have more of an informed opinion about the video games and such, but I don't. You're
And
a young
John,
guy. You probably know more than I do.
I say, John, we're sort of both on a similar sort of trend in terms of that. I know. uh, John, in terms of projects like this, when you sign up to them, are you made aware in terms of who the other voiceover actors? Were you aware that Nicole and John Nico and Javier were all on board before you got involved, or was that a nice, pleasant surprise afterwards?
Well, it's I if I ask, they certainly tell me, but I usually don't ask because I just trust the captain of the ship, which again, John Lasseter or any of the people he's worked with. Um, yeah, it's great because it's going to be quality because that's a quality list of people.
Yeah. And do you like to, before the premiere, and I know it's busy times for you now, promoting the movie as such, do you like to watch the finished product maybe once it's finished, maybe in advance to give a sort of feel for it? Is there always a sense of excitement when you get to see it for the very first time?
Well, yeah, I usually wait for the opening to go see it, and bring the young ones in my family that appreciate it, and they get a kick out of it certainly, and so I live vicariously through them.
Yeah. So you're like everyone, you like to go and see it with the normal public. You don't like a viewing beforehand before its release.
Well, no, either one doesn't
Okay.
make any difference to me. I'll see it either way, whichever happens. Uh, but yeah, it's usually at the opening that they have, with the uh my kids and grandkids, they like it because there's a lot of free refreshments. So they get a kick out of that too.
And I suppose, John, it's great to see everybody now in joyful sort of banter that maybe Hollywood has made its big recovery after COVID and after the strikes, and maybe the business is coming around again as well. Is it now sort of a refreshing sort of time after all the, dare I say, the uncertainty of the last few years to see things in production again, to see people heading out to the cinema theaters to see new things dropping all the time? Is it after a period of uncertainty, do you feel that we're moving in the right direction again?
Well, I think the storytellers, should dig a little deeper. I think a lot of films coming out now are things we've seen before, or it's too much special effects, or so I'm very much in favor of writers who've actually read books and get new stories. There's certainly writers out there, but the trick is for the studios to hire them.
And I suppose, John, in terms of being in the business now for a long period of time, and when you projects come along, and you mentioned this voiceover work and maybe roles in terms of that, is there still amount of dare I say anticipation about? Is it more? Are you drawn more to the character, or are you drawn more to the script, or what makes John Ratzenberger sign up to a project? What makes it, you say, to give the yes? Because I imagine there's so many scripts that sometimes that you say, what excites you to maybe say, yeah, I'll take on this challenge?
It depends. I used to when I lived in London for 10 years. That's where I started my acting career. I was a chippy, a carpenter,
Yeah.
when I first got there, and I toured Europe for good 10 years doing my own shows with my partner Ray Hassett, who ended up becoming a highly decorated undercover cop here in the States. But what I used to do when I was offered films, my first priority was the location because I love traveling. So if it was a B film but in a bad location, or sorry, an A film in a bad location, I would go for the B film that was in someplace exciting that I'd never seen, like India. I mean, that was an A film. Gandhi, I did Gandhi there, and then but Malta and all over the place because I'm a factory town boy, and to get out of that and to get the opportunity to travel and see the world and uh, taste different tastes and different people and accents and customs. I still get a kick out of that. So a lot of it depends on, for me, the location.
And is there a particular genre? I know everybody will associate you to the comedy genre, obviously, with your legendary role in Cheers. But as an actor, are you sort of drawn to different sorts of genres? If you do comedy, would you like to delve into a bit of horror or sci-fi, or is it very much the project, or do you like to go between genres? Is maybe being in the one genre for a period of time, does it get a bit stale for you?
No, I love doing comedy. I got into enough trouble in grammar school because of it. I was sent down to the principal's office many a time because I love making the other kids laugh, and but there was an advantage to it because as I was trying to look contrite in front of the principal's office, I'd be looking down at her desk, and in that way, I got to learn how to read upside down very well. And so, uh, but I just like laughing, and I love to hear people laugh, and I enjoy in the stage. Basically, I'm off to do a stage piece pretty soon, but anything to make them laugh, I'm there for it.
Mm. So the open air sort of performance scenario, that sort of improv, it excites you, does it? Working off an actor, going off improv.
Well, that's the way I started. Just show up, get on stage, and figure it out as you go along. And that's what Ray and I did so well together that we became kind of the top of the fringe circuit in Europe. Edinburgh Festival, we appeared there years ago. And but our approach was, all right, let's figure out the ending, figure out where the middle is, and just go for it. We had no script. There was nothing written on paper. We knew that in the middle, sort of, this will happen, and then let's go to the end. But we'd have different props and come on as different characters, different hats, different coats, and we were very successful at it. We had quite a large audience. But that's what I brought to Cheers. I mean, I had really never auditioned before I auditioned for Cheers, and it was making up the character on the spot.
Yeah.
I failed what they wanted me to do, and I was on my way out the door, and I said, "Do you have a bar know-it-all?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "Well, the kind of guy who," and then I launched into this rendition of a bar know-it-all that I was very familiar with from growing up where I grew up, and they laughed enough that I could leave with my dignity. And 2 days later, I get the call. So that we called it making stuff up. We never used the word improv because we didn't know it existed um, until later on. But yeah, we were called Sal's Meat Market.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we became good friends with Stephen Ray, uh, one of your blessed actors. If you see him, give him my best.
Will do. Will do.
And
And
John Cleese,
yeah.
a lot of different. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you mentioned John Cleese comedy there, and I suppose when a sort of a famous comedy show in terms of America, we think of Cheers. Maybe in England, we think of Fawlty Towers, Only Fools and Horses. In Ireland, we mentioned comedy. Then the late great Dermot Morgan and Father Ted in terms of that. So it always shows that comedy is universal. You don't need to. It all it needs is a good script, no matter the country, no matter the era. You'll always find something that relates to a certain place.
Yeah, good comedy is also universal. People in uh, Morocco will laugh the same things that people in New York will laugh at if it's done the right way. One of my big influences, and uh, I got to know John Cleese's influences. I talked to him about this when we met on the set of Cheers. It was Jacques Tati, the French comic actor, and there's not a lot of dialogue involved, not a lot of writing involved, but just and Stan Laurel. There's another one, another big influence of mine because I always try to find the comedy that's between the written word, and that's a good vein of gold.
And John, before we came on air, you mentioned you visited Ireland a few times, and particularly County Cork and Kinsale, amongst others. Can you maybe share a few memories or a story that is treasured to you of your time in Ireland?
Oh, there's a book there. I mean, one of the first times I was with a sweetheart, and I think it was Killarney, but knocked on the pub door, and it was after closing, and the publican open the door just a crack, and just a little bit, not like the crack that you guys talk about having fun. But he's opened the door a bit. He said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Well, we'd like to come in for a drink." He said, "I'm sorry, sir, we're closed up for the night. Come right in." And that to me, that's the moment I fell in love with Ireland. I understand that logic. He had to tell me that they're closed, but come right in. And we were in there till dawn, singing, and the place was packed with people. And I really cherish that memory.
Okay. Fantastic, John, and hopefully, please God, we'll get you back to Ireland in the near future again.
Anytime, just call. I'm on the plane.
Okay. And John Ratzenberger, I'm going to turn it over to you for the final 30 seconds. You might enlighten all our audience, all our listeners, why they should watch on channel Netflix on November the 22nd, Spellbound, why the families they should tune in with their children to watch this magic kingdom and this magic fairy tale story. And when they do, John Ratzenberger, what's in store for them?
Yes, like I said, it's because it's always been important to me, especially when my children were younger, of what's appropriate. What's Are they going to pick up, a couple of handy swear words, or are they going to see behavior that I really don't want in my home? But that's the beauty of everything that comes from John Lasseter's direction, because he has a family. He's got sons, grandson now, and uh, you can be safe when you see his name associated with a project, because he's adamant about that as well. So take the kids and gather around your set TV. Yeah, it's not going to be on the big screen, is it? It's on TV, Netflix, and enjoy yourselves.
Yeah.
Get
On
some
that
fish and
note,
chips